Okay, so we now discuss the next concept, and this is enzymes. Okay, so very critical, and you expect to see enzymes in most of the questions as you'll be writing an exam. So, first, we are going to define what enzymes are and what they do in our body systems. Right, so what are enzymes? So, in a very simple definition, I'm going to put up here, I'm going to say enzymes are biological catalysts, right? Enzymes are biological catalysts. They alter the rates of chemical so chemical, in other terms you can say metabolic 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 reactions in living cells. Alright, now let's understand three terms that I've used here. So there's one, biological. Something you have to understand is biological, metabolic, okay, and also catalysts. So talking about biological processes, it means they happen in living cells. Okay, so they happen in living cells. Then catalyst, you know, a catalyst is a substance that speeds up the rate of a chemical reaction. Right. Now, it so happens that enzymes are different from various catalysts in the sense that they are not destroyed at the end of the reaction. So you have to include that in the definition as well. So they are not destroyed completely. Right. So this is something that you have to understand. Then you look at the structure of enzymes. Okay, so enzymes are made up of two. You can say regions. So this is what we're going to say the active sites, and this is what we call the allosteric sites. This is as well called the useless site of the enzyme, or the useless part of an enzyme, because most substrate that bind to an enzyme actually bind at the active site. So the active site is the most sensitive part of the enzyme. So this is something that we have to take note. Then the other thing is the properties of an enzyme. So one, enzymes are proteins in nature. Proteins in nature. But then you should understand to say proteins are made up of the smallest basic units called the amino acids. Right, so you discover that that brings about the specificity of an enzyme. So an enzyme is specific to a substrate that it can bind. Alright, so enzymes are specific in nature. So take it for example, an enzyme that can catalyze the reaction of maltose is maltase specifically, and sucrase, for example, is an enzyme that can catalyze the reaction of sucrose. All right. So they as well catalyze both forward and reverse reactions. Okay, so this is something that you have to know. So there are other properties of an enzyme that you have to understand, but then these are very important. And you also have to understand to say enzymes denature with increase in temperature. So enzymes do denature with increase in temperature or pH. Okay. So at the optimum temperature or pH, you discover the enzyme has the most activity, and this is something that we have to understand. Then the other things on enzymes that we have to know is what affects an enzyme to act in a reaction. So we're going to look at the questions just to summarize the topic. Questions on how we can tackle questions on enzymes. Stay tuned. See you then.